Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Webinar Series on Holistic Health, Well-being and Sustainable Development 2022-23, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030, as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute, Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. So before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
Kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah Shatru buddhi vinashaya Deepajyotirnamostute Deepajyotirnamostute Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. Today, is International Zebra Day. With their natural environment diminishing and increasing human development, these gentle animals are in danger. When habitats are threatened, animals too become endangered. International Zebra Day is all about raising awareness and what we can do to help in the conservation of the animal. Zebras are mostly found on the African continent, in the semi-desert areas of Kenya, Ethiopia, and the hilly areas of Namibia, Angola, and South Africa. You can easily identify a zebra by its unique black and white stripes. International Zebra Day was most likely founded by a consortium of conservation organizations such as Smithsonian's National Zoo and the Conservation Biology Institute International. And this day aims to help raise awareness about the living conditions of zebras and how their numbers can be protected from further decline. Presently, 3 types of zebras can be found in the wild. They are Grevy's zebras, plain zebras, and the mountain zebras. Although the Grevy's zebras found in the northern regions of Kenya are extremely rare, they are an endangered variety, having suffered a loss of more than 54% of its total population. The loss has occurred rapidly in last 3 decades because of the zebras being poached for their hides and pelts. Zebras are found in the African savanna, where their natural habitat has been well preserved, and not all zebras are in danger of disappear. The other 2 subspecies of zebras are less endangered than the Grevy's zebra. Plain zebras are thriving and don't face threats of the endangerment. The mountain zebra lives in South Africa, Angola, and Namibia. Along with the dangers of poaching, these zebras are also in danger from locals who might hunt them for meat. When the going gets tough, zebras have been battling many concerns regarding preserving their population. They are depicted in the cave rocks art in African regions as long as 28,000 years ago. And zebras are sent as exotic gifts to the established democratic relationships. Thus, zebras are used in diplomacy in 1261. Quaggas, a type of plain-dwelling zebra, became extinct in 1878. Gravy zebra is endangered and it has a population of less than 2,000 mature zebras in 2019. So there are considered they are considered endangered according to the National Geographic, and there may be some 3 lakh left in the wild, and on the Serengeti Mara plains, they are estimated 1,50,000 plain zebras. And the gray zebra is considered endangered on the red list of threatened species. Their population has gone down by about 54% over the past 3 decades, according to the African Wildlife Foundation. So the best way is to observe is by donating our time and resources to organizations that ensure that the welfare of zebras and their conservation. And some interesting facts about zebras. Zebras can run up to a speed of 40 miles per hour, and zebra stripes are unique as fingerprints of humans. So we can see every zebra has a unique stripes. Zebra foals can stand up as early as 6 minutes after they are born. So foals grow up very quickly, foals with their offsprings. The baby zebra is known as foals. However, they can sleep while lying down too, and they can also sleep standing up. And a group of zebras is called a dazzle. Zebras live in groups known as dazzle. And this day is aimed at conserving, preserving, and increasing the zebra population. But a large number of zebras isn't enough. These celebrations ensure that animals' well-being. And this day also allows us to do our bit for wildlife conservation. Through various awareness programs and donation drives, we can become involved in the conservation of the species. The planet is for all, not just for human beings, for all creatures to inhabit. So this day helps preserve the zebra population and envisions a future where all creatures can coexist peacefully without fighting for the resources. And zebras are also social animals that live in large groups called the herds in a variety of habitats, including savannas, grasslands, and woodlands. However, in some places, zebras are under serious threat from habitat loss, climate change, and poaching. As already mentioned, just as two people doesn't have the same fingerprint, the same is true with zebras and their stripes. Each animal has its own unique stripe pattern. Although these mammals have stripes, it's still baffling why scientists, but there are a few different theories. Some experts believe it as to stop flies from landing on the creatures or to help them cool down, while others think stripes confuse predators such as lions and protects the animals by dazzling others and masking their movements in an optical illusion. Some zebras have also spots. Zebras are as famous for their distinctive black and white stripes, but not all of them are patterned in that way. Foals are actually born with brown and white stripes, which darken as they grow older. So zebras can also be affected by albinism, a rare genetic condition that results in little or no production of a pigment called melanin, which causes them to develop golden stripes. Although very rare, zebras have also spotted with spots instead of stripes. And zebras are herbivores and feed mostly by grazing on grasses, leaves, shrubs, and fallen fruit. They have strong front teeth and special digestive systems which can break down highly fibrous plants, twigs, and even bark. They gaze for many hours each day, often spending up to 18 hours daily feeding in the wild. They are also known to travel hundreds of miles in their herds in search of more food and water. Zebras are equine animals, and just like horses, they can walk, trot, canter, and gallop. Even though they are mainly seen grazing and walking, they are actually capable of reaching speeds up to 40 miles per hour. Zebras rely on the speed as well as their agility and the stamina to help them outrun predators. One trick they use is to run in a zigzag direction to confuse other animals. Scientists have also suggested that their stripes help to regulate their body temperature and could even act as a natural sunscreen. Their sociable nature can be seen at always together and follow each other everywhere. And zebras are seriously chatty animals. Whinnies, barks, snorts, and sniffs are just some of the noises they use to communicate. Zebras communicate non-verbally too, using their ears to indicate their mood. If their friend is stealing their hay, they are not happy. They put their ears flat back and bare their teeth. If their ears are pricked and forwards, they are paying attention to something going on. And zebras are hindgut fermenters, which mean their digestive systems are adapted to tackle highly fibrous plants, including grass, twigs, and barks. And each year, hundreds of thousands of zebras migrate across southern and eastern Africa in search of water and grazing opportunities. One of the most famous journeys is the Serengeti migration, which sees around 75,000 zebras traveling from Serengeti in North Tanzania to the Masai Mara Reserve in Kenya. But further south, an even longer migration takes place. During the dry months, thousands of plant zebra embark on a 300-mile trip from Chobe River on the border of Namibia and Botswana to Botswana's Saxpan National Park, the longest mammal migration on the continent. Unlike other hoofed animals such as horses and giraffes, zebras have locking joints. This means they can subconsciously lock their knees into position and doze without worrying about falling over. This adaptation has many benefits. It ensures that zebras are alert to predators and can escape quickly if threatened. However, to achieve deep sleep, Zebras no need to lie down. And masters of endurance, zebras are also fast on their feet. They are capable of reaching speeds up to 65 kilometers per hour, nearly double the pace of Olympian Usain Bolt. Zebras draw on their speed, agility, and stamina reserves to outrun predators and also to evade them in a zigzag direction to confuse their attackers is a very unique trait and strategy of zebras. They may seem docile, but male zebras will battle with each other to secure a mate, using bites and powerful kicks to defeat their rivals. When threatened by predators such as lions, zebras groups will often form a defensive semicircle in the front of attacker and fight if necessary. And zebras belong to kingdom Animalia and phylum Chordata, class Mammalia, order Perissodactylia, family Equidae, and genus Equus. And zebras vary in size depending on the species. Gravy zebra is the largest. It's about 4.10 to 5.25 feet at shoulder height and weighs 776 to 992 pounds. The mountain zebra is slightly smaller and is about 3.81 to 4.79 feet at a shoulder height and weighs about 450 to 948 pounds. The plain zebras is the smallest of the three species and is 3.61 to 4.76 feet at shoulder height and weighs around 386 to 849 pounds. The gravy zebra has a mule-like appearance with a narrow skull, robust neck, and conical ears. It has a narrow striped pattern with concentric rump stripes. It has a white belly and a tail base. It also has a white margin around the muzzle. The mountain zebra stripes are intermediate in width between two other species. Its stripes connect to a dorsal stripe that ends in a gridiron on the rump, which also has horizontal stripes. The belly is white, while the muzzle is lined with chestnut or orange. In comparison to other species, its eye sockets are more rounded and positioned further back. The plain zebras has broad stripes that are horizontal on the rump. The northern populations have more extensive striping, while southern populations have whiter legs and bellies. The southern populations also have whiter legs and bellies, as well as more brown shadow stripes in between the black stripes. They have relatively short legs with a convex forehead and a concave nose profile. Zebras primarily eat grass, but will also eat other plants if grass is scarce. Though the zebras are thought to have white fur and black stripes, but underneath its coat, the animal skin is black in color. Among plains and mountain zebras, the adult females mate only with their harem stallion. Meanwhile, in gray zebras, the mating is more promiscuous. On average, the gestation period is about 11 to 13 months, depending on the species. The female typically gives birth to one newborn called a foal at a time. The foal is capable of running within an hour of its birth. The mother will keep a careful eye over the newborn, imprinting their own striping patterns, scent, and vocalization on the foal, while the foal will attempt to graze after a few weeks. It will often continue to nurse for 8 to 13 months. So zebras use facial expressions, ear positioning, and noises to communicate with each other. Zebras are social animals and live in groups called herds. There is typically a lead male of the herd called stallion. The herd also consists of several females and their young. The stallion stays at the back of the group to defend against predators. When zebras are grouped together, the stripes make it difficult for the predators, including lions and leopards, to pick one out to chase. Zebras communicate with each other through facial expressions, ear positioning, and sounds. They make loud braying or barking sounds and soft snorting sounds. Their ear positioning, how wide open their ears are, and whether they show their teeth all send a signal. A zebra's average lifespan in the wild is 25 years. Lions, hyenas, wild dogs, and cheetahs are among most predators of zebras naturally. However, the largest threats to zebras are linked to human activities such as hunting and habitat loss or fragmentation and poaching. Habitat loss due to human encroachment, agricultural practices, and livestock grazing remains an issue in the ongoing conservation of this species. Hunting is another major threat to zebras, primarily for their skins and their meat. In Ethiopia, hunting is the primary cause of decline of gravy zebras. While they are primarily hunted for their skins, they will occasionally be killed for food. Occasionally, they will be killed and used for medicinal use in some regions. In addition to illegal hunting, gravies also face threats from disease outbreaks, drought, habitat loss, and fragmented populations. And the plain zebras is listed as near threatened by IUCN. And meanwhile, the mountain zebra is listed as vulnerable, and the Gravy's zebra is listed as endangered species. Conservation groups such as African Wildlife Foundation are working to protect all these species of zebras by working with local governments and communities. Some of their methods include designing wildlife corridors, promoting sustainable livestock management, employing technology for conservation, and engaging wildlife scouts. And young zebras will stick close to their dams, that is mothers, for the first few weeks of their life. Dams give guidance, sometimes physically directing their foal with a firm show. They also provide sustenance for at least the first 3 months of a foal's life, despite a foal's apparent independence. Because of the sheer amount of natural predators, zebra foals are born well developed. They can see and hear from birth, unlike many other mammals such as dogs and cats, and are capable of walking and running almost instantly, which means they are capable of following the herd if it breaks. And their life cycle is also dictated by environment and familial factors. Zebras, though they are social animals and live in herds, they do not remain in the same herd for the life. In fact, as soon as they're done suckling, they leave the dam side and join the rest of the herd. But this doesn't last for long. Around 22 months of age, they are ready to leave the herd completely and will do so voluntarily. A young zebra will be even more inclined to leave his or her herd following the birth of a sibling. Once they leave the herd, zebras form loose herds with their other zebras of a similar age. They may live alone in a group, but will congregate with other individuals and herds when feeding and drinking. It is only when zebras have reached the age of sexual maturity that they fall into more solid herds. And males typically reach sexual maturity at around 3.5 years of age, but they rarely get to breed until 5 years around, as there are always likely to be older and more sexually dominant males around. Females reach sexual maturity at between 3 and 6 years of age. They will typically give birth once every 3 years and remain productively active until her 24th year. Not all zebras are migratory. Their inclination to migrate depends entirely on the availability of food. If they can feed where they are and have access to water, they will lead relatively sedentary lives. However, zebras living in seasonally dry areas such as Serengeti will migrate when their supplies runs out. Since most zebras are born between November and April, non-sedentary zebras will experience their first migration at no more than 6 months of age when the first dry season arrives. In predatory animals, old age typically signifies the end of usefulness in an individual. Lions will isolate an old member of the pride in order to improve the pride's hunting efficiency. However, old age in zebras is something to be respected. Since no collective effort is required for feeding, old zebras are not a burden on their herd. In fact, it is typically the oldest mare in any herd that is responsible for leading the migration. She will use her wisdom to ensure the herd never wanders from the water. Though giraffes often travel in herds, they are very independent animals. Giraffes do not usually develop close connections with other members of the herd, with the exception of bonding between mother and calf. No single giraffe signals the rest of the herd or to begin moving. Female giraffes stay close proximity to other females and young adults, but there are few interactions of individuals within these groups, similar to these zebras. The quagga, considered since 1984 to be subspecies of plain zebras based on genetic evidence, has been extinct since the 19th century, when the last one died in the Amsterdam Zoo in 1883. So with this, we shall conclude this commemoration of International Zebra Day. And we will look at other commemorations today. Today is also Inspire Your Heart with Art Day in US. Whether It's a piece of music or art or painting. It can broaden our horizons and inspire us in many ways. And art can touch our souls and make a lasting impact. It was undoubtedly a creative and artistic person who created this day that shines a spotlight on the importance of power of art. We often don't realize the impact art can have on our hearts. It can inspire, motivate, guide, and touch us in many more ways than we can imagine. Art has been there since long time. Several archaeologists found the first artifacts of human art, which date back to Stone Age. Since then, art has developed over the years and is appreciated for a variety of reasons. Many associate art with paintings only, but it comes in many forms, and it's almost always inspires or touches your heart. Inspire Your Heart with Art Day is a perfect day to take closer look at the piece of an art to understand what the artist is trying to communicate with an open mind. You can allow it to inspire you and change your perspective on many things. Art satisfies our basic need for harmony and balance. It brings people together. Art also acts as an important form of communication that bridges the language barrier. Art can really go a long way in making a social impact on our lives. Today is also National Backward Day in US, encouraging us to do things oppositely. So it is a time to take a look at our actions and see how reversing them can be an effective and fun at the same time. So doing things backward can be enlightening is by reverse poetry, which is a form that uses a reverse method to convey different messages depending on how the poem is read. They can be read forwards, top to bottom, with one meaning, and backward from bottom to top with another. So spend the day finding new ways to do things in reverse. So Leonardo da Vinci, he famously practiced mirror writing, which is where text is written in the opposite direction so that it can be read in a mirror. There are multiple theories as to why Da Vinci did this. Firstly, it made it harder for people to steal his ideas, or he couldn't have been hiding his work to avoid religious persecution. Another theory is that artists simply wanted to prevent smudging of ink. Also, Da Vinci was left-handed, and starting from right to left could have made it easier for him. And Backward Days was created by two women, Sarah Nicole Miller and Megan Emily Scott, who came up with the idea while on the farm. They were milking cows, thinking about arts and crafts when the initial idea came to them. The two women came up with the rules of and created it on January 29, 1961. The next day, word had spread around and the community was doing things backward. The pair then made the day on 31st, and so it has remained. Throughout the decades, the benefits of doing things in reverse have become more visible. Some schools celebrate National Backward Day, where students can wear their clothes inside out and their shoes on the opposite feet, write their names backward, and so on, adding a little fun to the school day, add some entertainment to what could be just another day, ordinary day. And it is not just confined to the real world either. The invocation of doing things backward is seen in one of the most memorable episodes of the Nickelodeon cartoon, SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob's serious neighbor, Squidward Tentacles, calls a realty company to sell his house, but they won't accept it if the neighbors are too out of control. Squidward tells the rambunctious SpongeBob that it is opposite day so that he changes his ways. And SpongeBob acts as if he is Squidward. And now the day is a fun opportunity to do things in a reverse. Today is also Hug an Economist Day in US to show our affection for economists, and it's a day to express our gratitude to economists and encourage us to learn more about economics and how it affects us. Unfortunately, we don't know much more about this day, like who initiated these celebrations or when they have begun. As it is an unofficial holiday, a Scottish philosopher, Adam Smith, had published a book just when Britain was set to lose much of its older empire. This book, An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations, was the founding of the famous, then brand new school of thought, classical economics. The next century was marked by new economic thinking, and many economists devote their efforts towards figuring out how resources were allocated. Of course, back then, the profession was only a hobby for gentlemen of leisure. Very few academics choose this vocation. While economists wrote about economic policy, they were rarely, if ever, consulted by legislatures on economic matters. The post-World War II world looked very different even for economics. For one, mathematics had begun to influence economic theory. Then all empirical research studies began to get more sophisticated, even involving statistical testing of economic predictions. By the 20th century, economics and economists had further changed the way the world perceived wealth. Interest turned to less developed nations, and economic planning was created to lessen the gap between the rich and poor countries. This transformation brought a new way of thinking. Today, most governments, large agencies, and even commercial banks have their own group of economists to advise them, and they influence multiple sectors. The future remains uncertain, but what is certain is that economics will remain a vital branch of knowledge forever. Economics is used in conjunction with several other fields, including business, marketing, education, and even the environment. There are plenty of resources that make learning new economic theories and concepts fun. So start learning on this day. And today is also commemorated as Grammy Awards Day in US. Shows appreciation for the artistic eminence across genres such as hip hop, pop, classical, and many more. In the musical field, it is a perfect day to celebrate mankind's universal language. The origin of the Grammys dates back to 1950s when the Hollywood Walk of Fame began. This public monument, which honors the achievements in the entertainment industry, renewed interest to honor the talents of music professionals. So the decision to name the award Grammy was based on a mail-in contest where approximately 300 participants suggested the name. The winner of the contest, Jay Dana from New Orleans, Louisiana, submitted the name as an abbreviated reference to the gramophone. The first ceremony was originated at Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills, California, and the Park Sheraton Hotel in New York City, New York, on May 4th, 1959. They presented 28 awards across different categories. Over the years, the number of accolades and categories fluctuated, and during 1 year, The awards distributed reached over 100. The second ceremony was also organized in 1959 and was the first ceremony to be televised. Before Staples Center in Los Angeles became the fixed location for the award ceremonies in 2000, the ceremony moved from Madison Square Gardens Feld Forum to Tennis Theater to Radio City Music Hall to Shrine Auditorium and to Hollywood Palladium. Today is also Gorilla Suit Day in US, and a day that unleash our inner primate, even if it is in a suit. So the King Kong Size Day is meant to honor the monkey suits that are worn on the Halloween at costume parties, movies, and sometimes just for fun. So don your gorilla suit and join us for the celebrations. Today is also Eat Brussels Sprouts Day. These green superfoods come with plethora of health benefits that can put on the path to a healthier lifestyle. They are produced mainly in the United States and Europe. There are so many Brussels sprouts recipes out there for you to play around with. Try today. Brussels sprouts belong to the Gemifera group of cabbages, which are grown for their edible buds. Brussels sprouts were first found in Northern European region during the 5th century. The first written reference to Brussels sprouts dates to 1587, and during the 16th century, they were extremely popular in the southern Netherlands and eventually Northern Europe. Apart from US, even Europe produces a whooping amount of Brussels sprouts, around 82,000 tons in Netherlands alone. While Brussels sprouts have many benefits, a lot of people find them extremely bitter and steer clear of them. This is because of the TAS2R38 gene, which was found in 1930 and controls whether we taste the chemical PTC. This is the chemical that is responsible for the taste of bitterness. This chemical is not present in our human diet. However, it exists in sprouts and some other foods. People with the gene tend to find these sprouts bitter, and cannot develop a taste for them. Nevertheless, if you find them very bitter, you should try and incorporate them into diet to lead a better, healthier lifestyle. Brussels sprouts are rich in antioxidants and help to reduce oxidative stress in your cells. And it's safe to eat occasionally. Brussels sprouts are extremely nutritious and can be enjoyed in many forms, such as roasted, steamed, or boiled. You can also eat raw Brussels sprouts. And today is also National Hot Chocolate Day. Which is deep-rooted in culture of Americans' collective childhood, quite like hot chocolate, and reminds us of rainy days, skiing, sledging, or even a quiet day watching the snowfall. It's thick, silky, toasty, and usually smoothed in whipped cream. No other drink brings warmth to our lives and taste buds quite like hot chocolate. So it's a perfect winter drink. When it's cold outside, staying cozy by the fire with a mug of hot chocolate between our hands is one of our favorite winter traditions in US. So let's be real. When all you need is little snuggle and warmth, this drink warms you and your whole body and tastes luxurious too. And chocolate contains many vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and biochemical compounds all of which help give you and your body a satisfying health boost. Hot chocolate even increases the microcirculation in your skin. Who knows? A hot chocolate obsession could be a good for our health, but anything excess is always a poison. Today is also Appreciate Your Social Security Day. Is to celebrate checks that are sent out for social welfare across America. Apart from commemorating the actual benefit themselves, this day also celebrates the workers who ensure that the welfare recipient receives his or her benefits. Around 15th century, the state began to assume responsibility for the economic security of the English citizens. Believing that this problem primarily affected those not financially strong enough, they dubbed the subsequent laws poor laws. When these English citizens spread around the New World, they took their ideas and customs with them, including the poor laws. The first American colonial poor laws were fashioned on the originals. While help existed, no formal public institution existed for almost an entire century. Social Security was around long before America adopted this system. In the 16th century, Revolutionary War figure Thomas Paine proposed a scheme for retirement security. He was one of the first people in the world to do so. In 20th century, entrepreneur and politician Dudley J. LeBlanc proposed a monthly stipend for the elderly in his campaign while running for the governor of Louisiana. He went on to adopt this into his national platform too, after seeing its popularity with voters. By this time, America was in the grips of Great Depression. President Franklin D. Roosevelt proposed a plan to provide social security to the American public. He sent a message announcing the same to Congress on June 8, 1934, and asked them to create a committee for studying the economic problem and providing recommendations. 6 months later, they presented a detailed proposal to the president and it was passed in August 1935. America now had a Social Security Act. Initially, this act was mostly providing aid to retired workers. This was amended in 1939 and dependents were eligible to receive benefits too. This began the transformation of the Social Security Act from a program for workers to be family-based economic welfare program. Today is also Scotch Tape Day. A problem arose when cars needed to be painted in two tones and sections need to be taped off to do so. That's how Richard Drew ended up creating a Scotch tape. Today, this versatile invention is used to stick anything and everything. Richard Drew worked at the Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company, which made sandpaper at the time. When he used to deliver sandpaper samples to auto body shops, he observed the inconvenience that car painters experienced when they had to paint two-tone color cars. At that time, surgical adhesive tapes or library glues were used to hold the newspapers on the cars when painting. However, when the newspapers were removed, residue remained and would rip the paint off when peeled off. So this inspired Drew to come up with long-term and efficient solutions. He went on to invent masking tape made out of crepe paper, cabinet markers glue, and glycerin. It adhered well to the cars and came off easily without taking paint away. It was later marked as Scotch masking tape. Around 1950s, the company introduced their mascot, Scotty McTape, who was declared a member of the Clan Wallace, the clan that William Wallace was from. The mascot started wearing red tartan and Wallace hunting green plaid. However, he was jettisoned in the early 1970s. Nevertheless, to date, one can still find the green plate on Scotch labels. Over the years, several manufacturers have started making transparent adhesive tape. However, many still tend to call it as Scotch tape. The invention of Scotch tape, which can now be found in almost every home, resulted in Dew being inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Scotch tape adheres to many surfaces, including paper, plastic, glass, wood, cement, and metal. It doesn't require extra water or any solvent to make it stick. Scotch tape is actually a trademark and a brand name used for pressure-sensitive tapes. Scotch tape is world's first transparent adhesive tape. When banks used Scotch tape to mend torn currency during the Great Depression, Scotch tape has been used as an anti-corrosive shield on the Goodyear blimp. During World War II, the military wanted all Scotch tape, and hence sales were prohibited to civilians. Today is also National Plan for Vacation Day. Reminds us to start planning our vacations and take time off from work and school. Vacations help people spend some quality time with their life, with their family and friends, and it also helps with their mental health. Vacations also lead an increase in tourism, which ensures a well-functioning economy. This day is important, so stop postponing your vacation and take a few weeks off. The need for this day became especially important when survey findings revealed that Americans were not using their vacation days since 2015. So this was in turn negatively affecting their health, relationships, and even companies. Vacations help improve one's physical and mental health, and it makes people discover new things about themselves and what they want to do with their lives. So one should take at least 2 long trips per year and maybe some shorter trips in between. Ideally, the total time spent on vacation should be around 30 to 45 days per year. It may be short distance to long distances. Today is also Hell is Freezing Over Day in US. The Northern Hemisphere experiences a chilling winter during this time period. The original idiom, when hell freezes over, actually refers to something that will never happen. But due to freezing weather, it indeed feels like hell is freezing over. All of us have or might have used it multiple times in our lives by saying, I will apologize when hell freezes over. I will join the gym when hell freezes over. Or I will watch a horror movie when hell freezes over, and so on. And it also has been referred in a popular culture and in the name of Eagles album that was released in 1994. It was also used in a speech at United Nations in 1962 by late Adlai Stevenson. Hell is free. Freezing over day is particularly relevant in Northern Hemisphere as this day falls during winter when people are experiencing extremely harsh temperatures. Some places experience temperatures below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, which can even cause lakes to freeze completely, streets to be covered in snow, and the strong winds to become unbearable. It literally feels like hell has frozen over during this season. And there are many ways of saying it, such as ghost of a chance, chance in a million, not a prayer, unthinkable, and so forth. So light a bonfire in your backyard or make a fire in your fireplace at home. Gather around with your loved ones and soak up the warmth. You can even make s'mores and have some great food to go along with it on this day. Since the day signifies something that will never happen, you can make it happen instead. Make amends with a friend you thought you never would. Take that leap of faith in your professional career or quit a bad habit you have been longing to break. So with this, we shall conclude today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining us today. See you all tomorrow at the same time. Before leaving, quickly fill up the feedback form. Those who have not registered, kindly register. It is mandatory to receive certificate. Registration link has been shared in the chat box. We are sharing once again for your convenience. And feedback link has been raised in the form of polls in Zoom platform. After filling up the feedback form, you can use the Google form link for registration. The link is same for every day. So before coming to webinar or joining, kindly fill up the registration form every day. Quickly fill up the feedback form raised in the form of polls. And at 7:30, we'll join back again for the media series webinar. We'll be ending this meeting, this session in another 4 minutes. Then after a short break, we'll be again joining back at 7:30 for the media series webinar. Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form. We'll be closing the session in another 3 minutes.